Konnichiwa everyone, it's Dan from JaDan.co.uk. Even though I don't really have a website. I think there is a website, I just don't do it with it. Anyway, cheers for finding me live stream today everyone. I appreciate that. How are we doing today? I hope everyone's doing well. I'm not doing too bad here in the world of Japan. And yes, so we're at it again with another live stream. We're going to start this live stream off correctly. I've got a can of Kidding Strong. This is mango and peach flavor. There we go. Kanpai. What's up to everyone in chat? I hope you're all doing well. Nice to see some usual faces in here. And yeah, let's crack on with today's topic. Today's topic of the live stream is learning Japanese. And this topic were decided by the lovely people over on patreon.com/JaDanDanDan. Each live stream there's a poll and people decide what I'm going to talk about. And this time it was learning Japanese. Wow. What a topic. It's not easy. If you've ever tried to learn another language, you already know it's not easy. Japanese is on another level and not easy. And so today's live stream is basically going to be a bit of a chat about learning Japanese and like how to do it and what I did and stuff. So first of all, I want to talk about why learning Japanese is important. For most of you, it's not. Maybe you just want to understand Attack on Titan or Kimetsu no Yaiba or something. I don't know. Maybe you just want to understand your favorite anime without subtitles. That's a decent goal. I don't know. Maybe you're just mad into AKB 47 or 48 or however many there are, and you just really want to know more about them. I don't know. For me, I live in Japan, so, you know, it's kind of important that I know a bit about Japan. So when I come here, I mean, I learned a bit of Japanese before I come to Japan, but not enough. Nowhere near enough. So when I come here, a bit of a rude awakening. To be honest, like, I come to Japan and I thought, yeah, I know a bit of Japanese. Turns out, no, I don't. So if you're going to live in Japan, yeah, Japanese is kind of important for you. It's kind of important. Not just because it sounds cool. It's kind of important because, you know, going to bank when you don't speak Japanese is not good. I'm going to tell you a couple of stories about when I decided to seriously learn Japanese. And these are kind of funny stories. They're not funny when you're on receiving end like I were. Receiving end is a bit of a pun that you might get in a minute. But yeah, there was a couple of moments when I decided, yeah, I should probably learn Japanese. So like I said, I'd learned a bit. When I come here, I could speak a bit. But I learned, you know, textbook Japanese, and it turns out that's not that useful here. And I came to Japan, I came to Kansai, like they speak a whole different type of Japanese. Kansai Ben is very different to regular Japanese, or Hyojungo as it's called. So I had a bit of a rude awakening there where suddenly I learned phrases like, sumimasen, kore wa ikura desu ka? Which means, excuse me, how much is this? And I came to Kansai and everyone's like, oi, nambo? How much is this? But in an Osaka style. So yeah, I had a bit of a rude awakening. I come here, I thought, oh, I'm all right. And then I realized I weren't. Day 3 in Japan, probably. Day 3. I rocked up to the bank. I was like, I'm going to open a bank account today. Oof. That were an experience. It took 3 hours to open a bank account with post office, with Google Translate, passing phone back and forward and that. And poor woman on the other side, she didn't have a fucking clue what was going on. She's ever seen a foreigner before. And I would try and open a bank account with her. With my terrible Japanese. And oof. At one point, she told me my passport were wrong and I'd have to get a new one in order to open a bank account. That's how well that conversation went. So, yeah, it were a bit of a mad one. So that day, just struggling through that, I realized, yeah, I should probably try and study a bit of Japanese. So that were one brick in the wall, if you like. Another brick in the wall is I went to a festival after I'd been in Japan not long. Called Nara no Kenkamatsu. There's a video on my channel, like Himeji Fighting Festival or something. It's old, but it's really good. And that day I got a chance to speak to a lot of Japanese people and enjoy festival in a way that most foreigners probably couldn't, because I just kind of used me gaijin ignorance and went to place I weren't supposed to go and talked to people I weren't supposed to talk to. And I had a great day. But because partly through ignorance and not knowing enough Japanese and being able to talk a bit of Japanese to people made a big difference that day. And I enjoyed that festival a lot just because I could speak a little bit of Japanese and, interacting with locals and stuff like that. It's part of life. Like, there's people that come here and they live here their whole life and they don't speak Japanese. I mean, like, you can get by without learning Japanese. You can. But why would you want to? Like, I don't want to exist in that gaijin bubble, I want to go out there and I want to talk to people that are different to me. I want to talk to people in a new language. And I want to experience things that I can't experience at home, So that's another good reason to learn Japanese. And the last one, I don't think I've told this story to anyone. I'm not even sure I've told this story to Eddie-chan, to be fair. But at some point in my first year in Japan, I got neurovirus and I was quite sick. And I didn't go to the doctors because I couldn't speak Japanese. So I just sat in my room shitting through iron needle for 3 days. And then my friend Shori-chan, she come along and she took me to the doctor. She's like, I'm sick of this. And she took me to the doctor. That's where things got. And to be honest with you, so I went to the doctors and Shori-chan were telling him, that all this shit were going off. And I just sat there like, I don't know what's going on. All right, safe, whatever. And the next thing, Shori-chan were like, oh, go into this room. So I went into this room and there was just a bed. And even then, alarm bells weren't ringing. And then the nurse come in and she were like, lay on bed. Uh-oh. And you're like, yeah, you need to, she like motion taking your pants down. So I'm like, oh, fucking hell, here we go. Next thing, camera up arse. Like, all right, safe. Yo, there's no like a surprise camera in the nether regions to make you want to learn a new language to know it's coming. I'll tell you that. And I come out of this room and Shori-chan were fucking howling laughing. And I was like, why? She's like, I knew it were coming, but I just didn't tell you. Bitch. Oh my word. So if I'd have understood the preceding conversation, I'd have known I were going to have a camera up my ass. But I didn't, and it were a surprise. And it opened up a whole new world to me, like that Aladdin song. Yeah, so sat there on a bed with my pants around my ankles and a camera up my ass. Decided, yep, today's the day. I'm going to start learning Japanese. So, yeah. I mean, there's millions of reasons why I wanted to learn Japanese, but there is some that defined the decision, if you like. And like I say, everyone's got different decisions for learning Japanese. If you're going to travel here, it's nice to know a few travel phrases like, where is the station? Or, are you going to use lube with that? I don't think that's a travel phrase you need to know, but, it's nice to be able to just bust out a little bit of Japanese in a restaurant when you want a Coke, Koki onegaishimasu. Like, it's kind of cool. So traveling is not necessary if you're going to be in Tokyo or even Osaka. If you're going to go out in countryside, probably you need a little bit of Japanese to get about, but it's not the end of the world if that's the case. If you want to understand anime, like, sure, crack on. If you want to understand, I don't know. I don't even know what anime is popular nowadays. Kids like Kimetsu no Yaiba, Demon Slayer, whatever it's called. Maybe you want to understand anime. I don't know. Maybe you're just really into J-pop. I don't really know what your goals are, but we've all got some kind of goal when it comes to learning Japanese is the point I'm trying to make. The next thing is trying to realize them goals. Because it turns out Japanese is fucking solid. It's not an easy thing to learn, especially from like Western perspective. If English is your first language, Japanese could not be more different than what you know. It is fucking solid, man. Like, just break it down a bit. Like, in every language, there's like core vocabulary, right? And you're going to need to know this core vocabulary to get by in most situations. I think in English, it's about 3,500 words. In Japanese, that's 6,000. So you're already doubling your work. Bear in mind, Japan's greedy as fuck, and it's got 3 writing systems. You know, we've got hiragana, katakana, and kanji. And it's not like there's 26 letters. There's 50 sounds in Japanese. I think 50 sounds in Japanese. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure there's 50 sounds in Japanese. Should check that. And, you know, you've got them 50 sounds in hiragana. And then you've got them same 50 sounds with different symbols in katakana. And then, we've got kanji. And it's not like there's 26 of them either. There's fucking thousands of them. You need about 2,000 just to read a newspaper. And these kanji are not related to English in any way, shape, or form. And it's hard work. So I'm going to break this up into 2 parts. There's people that just want to speak Japanese. They don't really care about reading. They don't really care about much. They just want to be able to listen and speak. And that's kind of cool. That's the easier of the 2 goals. If you're going to be in Japan a long time, you're going to get a lot of bits of documents and stuff you need to read. And you're probably going to have to learn to read and write and all. And my God, that's a challenge. It really is. Like, there's a few people in chat, like Will from Japan. He's another fellow lad who's studying Japanese right now. And yeah, it's a struggle. It's going to take a large proportion of your life and a lot of effort just to get to somewhere reasonable. Just to give you an heads up, like when I came to Japan, I weren't bothered about reading and writing. I just really went, oh, what we're saying. Super chat, thank you very much. Poke TMCG with a super chat coming in. Most people struggle with 3,000 words in the UK. That's true, because I'm from there. So, I've lost my train of thought completely. Anyway, as I was saying, like when I came to Japan, I weren't really interested in reading and writing. I really weren't. I was just like, as long as I can speak to people and get by, I don't care. And that's fine. And I spoke to people a lot. The way I used to learn Japanese is I'd get my textbook out and I'd learn a new phrase. That's cool. And then what I'd do is I'd go to a standing bar in Kobe and I'd say that phrase to as many people as I could speak to. I'd just say it to everyone. Hey, it's good practice for me to speak to everyone. But I'd also learn what they said back. I'd try and make a mental note of what they said and, like, you know, Google Translate. Didn't understand. So that way I'd learned a new phrase and I practiced saying it to everyone. But then I also learned how to reply to that phrase. And slowly but surely I built up a decent vocabulary, a decent base of phrases that I could have a conversation with people pretty early on. I couldn't really deviate from my script much, but I could have a conversation with people. And that were good. And people saw that as like fast progress. Like, wow, you can have a conversation. What they didn't realize is that I'd had that same conversation about 500 times. So I knew what were coming. And it made it seem more fluent than it actually were. And then after a while, I plateaued big time. Like, I just thought, well, I've got enough now. I don't really need much more. And that were cool. But gets to a point where you need more. You need to study more. So then I started with textbooks and that, didn't I? I got it in my head that I was going to do JLPT, and I was going to sit and do JLPT N5, N4, N3, N2, N1. For those that don't know, JLPT is the Japanese language proficiency test here in Japan. You can take it overseas. And there's 5 levels, 5 being the easiest and 1 being like fucking mega hard mode. And I decided I was going to study for these tests. So, of course, my earlier story is I were in Kobe, and it turns out Kobe is part of Kansai, and people in Kansai often speak Kansai Ben, which, if you're not sure what that means Kansai dialect, which is very different to textbook Japanese. So I'd learned fucking loads of Kansai Ben without realizing it. So, to give you an example for those of you that actually speak Japanese, a common phrase in Japanese is something shinakereba narimasen. Means I have to do this thing. Like, nani nani shinakereba narimasen. I didn't know that phrase. I just learned nani nani senakan, which is Kansai Ben for the same thing, which is totally different. Like, ikanakan, I have to go. Or yomanakan, I have to read. Like, it's completely different. And when I'm studying from a textbook, I'm like, what the bloody hell is that? why is that not the same? And then I had a realization that turns out Kansai Ben and Hyojungo are pretty different. When I went to Tokyo, I think I made some videos in Tokyo when I went to my friend's wedding. When I went to Tokyo, I was surprised that people knew that I was living in Kansai. But I'm like, how do these people know? Turns out, because the way I was speaking is pretty local to Kansai. So, yeah, that were a thing. So anyway, about a year and a half ago, I decided to really study Japanese textbook style and go for JLPT tests. And I made some JLPT quest videos and stuff you might have seen on channel. If you're interested in studying Japanese, maybe worth checking them out. But I decided to take N5 tests. And the thing is, with N5 and N4, people will tell you it's a complete waste of time and money because it don't matter. None of it matters really before N2. N2 is like, if you get JLPT N2, you can easily work in a Japanese company, you know. So that's like the goal for most people. But N2 is a lot of work, and there's 5 levels, but most people don't care about N5 and N4. It's not even worth really putting on your CV. But I'm the kind of person that wants to go and do that. I want to do each step in a row. I want to go and, you know, try my best. So I decided I was going to do N5. So I bought some textbooks. Bought some really good textbooks, actually. It's a series of textbooks. You know, I'll talk about materials in a bit. But, yeah, I decided to study from some textbooks, learned some grammar, learned some vocabulary, learned some kanji, and I passed N5 first time, no problem. And I also passed N4 first time, and that was December last year. So in space of a year, I could pass N5 and N4. Most of the legwork I'd already done learning Japanese before, but I had to fill in gaps, you know. And that leads me to where I am now. So N3 is what I'm studying for now. And honestly, I'm not there yet. I'm not going to lie, I'm not there yet. I'm going to try it in summer, but I'm not convinced that I'm going to be able to do that. So all we can do is keep soldiering on, you know what I'm saying? We just do as best and we try to learn some Japanese. But next up, I want to talk about how we learn some Japanese. There's so many resources out there. There's so much you don't really know where to start. And I learned by doing, and I wish I knew some things that I know now. If I'd have known these things 4 years ago, I could have been so much further on than I am. But I didn't know, did I? So, you know, you can't do out with stuff you don't know. So I'm going to talk a bit about resources. First up, one thing I want to mention to you, step 1, is you need to learn hiragana and katakana before you do anything. Literally, don't waste your time with romaji. Like, romaji is Japanese in alphabet. Don't waste your time. It's a crutch that will not benefit you at all. Don't do it. Unless you want to look at an English menu at Torikizoku, then don't bother. Side note, recently my mate Phil come here, and we went to Torikizoku, which is a restaurant here in Japan. Sells like chicken on a stick, basically. And they were like, do you want English menu? And my mate Phil's from England, he don't know Japanese. Like, yeah, sure, game English menu. Their English menu is the Japanese words written in alphabet. It's fucking useless. So he still had to ask me what everything were. But if you want to be able to read that, sure, crack on with romaji. But don't waste your time. It's a complete waste of time. And it will not benefit you in the long run. Ignore romaji at all costs. Step 1, hiragana, katakana. Don't waste your time with anything else. Hiragana and katakana is not hard. There's 50 sounds. I'm pretty sure there's 50 sounds. That means there's 50 symbols. It's not rocket science. If you put your mind to it, you can learn hiragana and katakana studying 10 minutes a day. You can do it in 2 weeks. Easy. Same with katakana. 10 minutes a day, 2 weeks, you could do it. It's not hard. So 1 month in, you've already learned hiragana and katakana. And practice writing it. Even though people don't write, practice writing it. It'll help, I promise. And then what I did is I learned hiragana and katakana and then started speaking, which is cool in short term. But what I wish I'd have done is started kanji day 1. I really, really wish I'd have started kanji early doors. I put it off for 3 years and I really wish I hadn't. So I actually use a resource called WaniKani. And WaniKani is an SRS system, spaced repetition service system. And yeah, it's first 3 levels are free and then it's payable. I think it's about $9 a month or something. But it's the best kanji resource I've ever used and I've used a lot. So the way this works, it'll teach you some kanji, it'll teach you some vocabulary that kanji. If you've ever seen any of my JLPT live videos before I did with them, you'll know what wanikani is. If not, wanikani is the best way to learn kanji in my opinion. So I've been doing that for over a year now. I started in December 2018 and we're in February 2020, so just over a year. And in that time, I've managed to learn 693 kanji. So that's a decent chunk of kanji in just over 1 year, I promise you. And even then, I didn't take it seriously all year. I could have been further on. But I weren't. I went to England and fucked off for a bit. So wanikani is unbelievably good. Eddie Chan's recently started using it, and I can't recommend it highly enough. I'm not getting paid for this, by the way. It's just, in my opinion, the best. And what it'll do, it'll teach you what's called radicals, little parts of kanji, and it'll get an English meaning. And then when it comes time to learn kanji, it'll combine all them little English pieces of radicals that you know, and it'll put them together to tell you a story so you remember the kanji. And then it'll give you a story for reading. So you learn kanji like through little mnemonics, and you create a story that you can remember. And then you use those kanjis to create the sounds and the reading. Because if kanji weren't difficult enough, certain kanji have got many, many readings. Like some of you may know the kanji in iku, the kanji in iku. And this is also ko and okonao, and it's got many readings. There's like the on reading and the kun reading, or onyomi and kunyomi as they say. And it's it'll drive you mad. But wanikani kind of helps to simplify it, because once you've learned the kanji, it'll then teach you words from the 6,000 core vocabulary that use these kanji, and you can build up your vocabulary at the same time. So my advice to you, if you're starting out today, learn hiragana and katakana, then wanikani to level 10. By the time you get to level 10, you know most of N5 kanji. Then, at that point, you should start on grammar. And this is where textbooks come in, to be honest with you. The biggest textbooks, I guess, not the thickest, but like the most well-known textbooks, there's two. There's Genki and Mina no Nihongo. And they're both much or muchness. They're basically the same thing, just two different versions of the same thing. I personally prefer Genki because that's what I used, but Mina no Nihongo is pretty good as well. And if you've got wanikani level 10, you've got enough kanji to read them books, and you've got enough vocabulary to read them books without having to look up every word. And at that point, you can start learning some basic grammar. Genki book 1 is pretty much enough to pass N5. And it's not hard. I think there's 12 chapters. Each chapter's got 4 or 5 grammar points, and it's enough. If you buy that book and the workbook as well, which is really useful, if you actually do that, then it won't take you long. A few months to pass. If you do like a page a day, a chapter a week or something, it'll only take you, 10 weeks, 12 weeks. It's not rocket science. And that book is pretty good. It'll give you enough to get by. And then, you can move on to Genki 2 and so on and so forth. So Genki is a decent book. On top of that, I would also recommend using a couple of other free services. Well, one free service and one paid service. The free service is Kani-Wani, which is like Wanikani in reverse. Wanikani always gives you the Japanese and you input the English or the Japanese, right? Kani-Wani is the other way. It gives you the English and you have to input the Japanese. So it's good for like recollection, and it's good for making sure that you can output the Japanese, because I found in Wanikani for the longest time, I learned when I could speak Japanese, I knew what it were. But if I couldn't speak Japanese, I couldn't tell you what that word were. And so I realized there was a problem there. So Kani-Wani, it links with Wanikani and it's free. Do it today. On top of that, there's also a website, Bunpro. Like the Japanese word for grammar is Bunpo. But Bunpro is a website. It's kind of in development, I guess. And it's like $3 a month. And it's like Wanikani, but for grammar. And in that case, it's really good to bolster what you're already studying in your textbooks. It's a good way to practice your grammar. I guess one big bonus, going back to the textbooks, Genki is only in English. But like if your English is not your first language, like Eddie-chan, Mina no Nihongo has Portuguese version, has a German version. There's like there's also translations of that textbook into other languages, which is good for people when English is not your first language. So that maybe is a decent point to think about if English is not your first language. If English is your first language, there's a lot of resources for you. If English is not your first language, you're kind of stuck. So yeah, that's something to think about. Anyway, BumPro is a really, really good service for practicing grammar. It works very similar to WaniCanny in its spaced repetition service. Lots of example sentences, and you can study grammar just by, JLPT level, N5, N4, N3, whatever, or the textbook you're studying from. You can study the chapter from the textbook you're studying. So that's really good. What I'll end up doing is putting in the comments of this video, I'll end up putting some links for different resources and stuff. And if you're on Patreon, I'll put an article up about it. So yeah, be sure to check that out. There's also plenty of other YouTubers here on the old YouTube who talk about learning Japanese. Specifically, the big YouTubers, Chris Abroad and Dogen, and some guys, a guy called Light, who used to make videos just like chatting about something he'd bought. He's been in Japan for ages, but now he makes videos reviewing textbooks and stuff. At least he did last. I haven't seen his channel for a while, to be honest. But Light in Japan, I don't know, probably Light in Japan, but Light was his name, like from Death Note, Light. And that guy seemed cool. Like, I never met him, but he seemed nice. He always comments on my videos and stuff from time to time. And last time I saw his channel, he blown up. He were reviewing Japanese textbooks. He's sick at Japanese. So check him out. Anyway, so there we've got a few resources that maybe you want to think about for Japanese. Next, if you're so inclined, you can look at taking JLPT tests. I'd never took it overseas. I only took it in Japan. But honestly, before N2 is apparently a waste. Oh, Light's in chat. I've just seen him. Hey! So, yeah, if you're in chat, Light, if you can do me a favor, please post a link to your channel. Yes, it is you I'm talking about, by the way. Oh, I've not really been paying attention to chat, so I haven't really seen what's going on. It's just popped up. So, yes, Light does review Japanese textbooks and stuff. And if you're looking for specific textbooks, he's your man. Sorry, off on a tangent there. So yeah, resources. On top of that, there's Tai Kim's Guide to Japanese Grammar. It's a free website. If you don't want to pay for anything, Tai Kim his resources are absolutely fantastic. For Japanese grammar, he explains it in a very different way to textbooks. And although I don't specifically use his, I often check stuff on his website. It's really good. Some other textbooks I've used over the years that I'm not particularly fond of, but they're not bad. Japanese for Busy People was widely available in England. Yeah, I don't know. It were alright. I didn't really get it. What other resources? Japanese from Zero. Or Kana from Zero, whatever. It's a weird one. The textbooks I bought, they were the first textbooks I ever bought. And I like the fact it kind of taught you hiragana, katakana as you went through the book. But overall, I didn't really use them books very much. I thought, yeah, they're all right. I didn't really use them. The guy is on YouTube and he makes good videos, but it just weren't for me. It really weren't for me. For me, Genki is the textbook I've kind of stuck with, and that would just cost that first one I bought. If I'd have started with Mina no Nihongo, probably I'd stuck with that. I don't know. Anyway, studying for the test, I also picked up some awesome textbooks called Try N5 and Try N4. And I think it's the same company, maybe a different company, also made a book with like 500 questions in it that you could test your grammar for N5 and N4. Really good books if you are studying for JLPT tests. Up next is, like, that's all well and good, self-study. Like, self-study is hard, but it's all well and good if you can do it. The problem is practice. In Japan, of course, there's plenty of Japanese people around I can try and have a conversation with. There's practice. I don't have to go far to find it. If you're in deepest, darkest Yorkshire, probably there's not that many Japanese people kicking around to have a conversation with you. That's where italki comes in. I used to teach English on italki.com a while ago. But you can find language lessons relatively cheap through the internet. And there's plenty of Japanese people getting lessons on there. And these are not teachers, they're just people that do it in their free time. And you can find some really decent people on there to practice your conversational skills with. And of course, they'll teach you a bit on that. There are some teachers on there, but they're expensive. But you can get conversational lessons pretty cheap on there, to be honest with you. And I'd recommend it if you just want to practice speaking some Japanese. It's pretty good. There's a YouTuber. There's a couple of YouTubers that do it. I'm trying to remember the names. Rina-san is probably one of them. I'll link in description, names escape me right now. But yeah, people get lessons on italki.com. There's also probably other variations about there. On top of that, there's what's the name of that application? I forgot. Let me just double check my app store. I'm pretty sure it's Hello Talk, but let me just double check. It's professional this, Hello Talk. Yes, Hello Talk is this one here. And it's basically language exchange via text messages. And it's free from what I can remember. And yeah, you can meet native speakers. They want to learn English, you want to learn Japanese, blah, 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 blah. And you can speak to them via text message. I'm sure you could arrange to Skype call somebody if you get to know them well enough. What else? I don't know if this is a website anymore, but I used to use a website called lang8.com. And basically, lang8.com, you'd write something in the language you're learning, and native speakers would correct it, and in turn, you correct other people who are learning your native language, and it goes round in a nice circle where everyone basically helps each other. So, I don't know. Yeah, it was pretty good. So, I enjoyed doing them things early doors, but these days I basically concentrate on wani kani, and I concentrate on trying to speak to people, and I concentrate kani wani, bumpro, and then textbooks. In terms of N3 textbooks, I'm to be honest, I'm just concentrating on core vocabulary and kanji right now until I get there. And with any luck, I can crack on. All of these textbooks, if you search online, you'll find PDF versions. I didn't buy real textbooks for a long time. I'm not lying. In Japan, I like textbooks. I've got a thing where if I go to a bookshop and I've bought a textbook, I instantly understand exactly what's in that textbook and I never have to read it. It's a good skill that doesn't actually exist, but my brain thinks it does. So there you go. Yeah. So yeah, lots of good resources. Next up, I kind of want to talk about my journey with learning Japanese. What I told you is a good version, but that's not what I did. I learned the hard way, and I didn't really do it that way. So yeah, like I said, before I come to Japan, I took some English lessons with a woman called Suzuko in Sheffield, and she's obviously a Japanese person that married a lad from London, and they lived in Sheffield. I actually knew her husband a long time ago when I were in bands. He was a sound engineer. Long story short, I took Japanese lessons from his wife for about a year, I think. And I didn't take it seriously. I was like, oh, whatever, I'll go for an hour a week. You don't learn fuck all in an hour a week. So when I come here, I could learn a few phrases, but I didn't really know nothing. And then, like I said, I bought Genki and I just learned some phrases and said it to everyone in a standing bar. Accidentally learned Kansai Ben. And then decided to try and study properly. And that's where we are today. I don't know. By no means am I an expert in Japanese. I should have mentioned this at the beginning. I'm not. I'm at best mediocre when it comes to Japanese. But I'm always trying to improve. Working in English in Japan don't really help you Japanese. I worked for Nova. They told you to pretend that you don't speak Japanese. I worked for Interact and they were also like, yeah, don't speak Japanese. Just don't do it. What they didn't know is that my school wanted me to speak Japanese, and I just kind of taught English in Japanese to kids a lot. So I learned a lot of technical terms. I could say a lot of grammatical terms in Japanese because I had to learn them. And that were kind of part of the equation, I guess. And then now in my current company, I teach business English, and obviously they don't really want me teaching much in Japanese. So in my day-to-day life, I don't really use Japanese. But outside of that, me and Eri-chan, obviously we speak in English. Yeah, English is a common language between us, so we speak in English. But outside, I will try and speak Japanese as much as I can. As much as I can. There's not that much opportunity for me to speak English. And speak Japanese, sorry. There's plenty of opportunities for me to speak English. And it's frustrating. And I appreciate Tokyo Sam is in chat. How we doing, brother? So I'm sure most of you are aware that TKYO Sam, the legend that he is having a good time. I've been watching some of your videos recently, Sam. Some longer rant videos. I enjoyed some of your interview stuff. So chill. I appreciate that. And Sam also makes a lot of videos about learning Japanese, by the way. I'm sure he does lessons on Patreon and stuff like that. So, check him out. Check him out. Anyway, as I was saying, my Japanese is basically shit, but I've done my best to study a day and, be less shit and more Jozo at Japanese, innit? Funny thing about being able to speak even a little bit of Japanese is there's kind of the meme among gaijins here in Japan is the nihongo jozu desu ne, which means like, ain't your Japanese right good? It's kind of funny. A story about this. Japanese people love to tell you like, oh, your Japanese is right good. I were in City Hall in Sakai when I was moving house, and this woman, I was trying my best to go through all documents and stuff, talking about like moving house and writing my address and stuff. And then she just said something that I completely didn't understand. And I said to her, seriously, wakarimasen. And that means, I don't understand. And she was like, oh, nihongo jozu desu ne. What? How is me nihongo jozu if I didn't understand the fucking word you just said? That was one of the best experience I've ever had with Japanese, to be honest with you. Her telling me that my Japanese were great when I told her that I didn't understand what she said in Japanese. But like the whole thing is like, if you watch any of Mayday-san's videos, I guess Mayday-san is he's big on the old TikTok these days, but he's a funny guy. And he made a video recently. He's just sat there and he coughs, and some Japanese guy is like, oh, nihongo jozu desu ne. So yeah, that's a thing that we have to deal with here. But there's two kinds of people in this world, in this Japanese world. There's them that want to learn and try, and there's them that don't want to learn and they want to live in the gaijin bubble and they just want to go to the hub every weekend. And that's cool for them, but that's not what I'm about. I'm on the N2 grind, even though I'm not even at N3 yet. But I'm on that grind. I'm doing my best. That's all we can do in this life. I've absolutely ignored chat so far, so I'm going to scroll back through chat and see what people have been saying. We've got Tom Fall, Trevor Random, PokeTMCG, cheers. Philly Bear Plays, who's been studying Japanese for about 2 weeks. Gambatte kudasai. Kairi Pamu Pamu's come up in chat, I'm not sure. Oh, I know what Kairi Pamu Pamu is. It's like pam 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 pam. I don't know the words this song. Itchy Squid, Osaka and Simple Country Folk. Osaka people are great. Tokyo Sam, whatever you believe otherwise, but they are absolutely sick. I love people from Kansai. Who else we got? There's lots of comments about Lube when I were talking about an embarrassing story. Katakana's been difficult. Kanji's been brain crushing and learning. The Ruby is a pain, yeah. Will Japan's in chat. Ball yeah. But, on the N3 grind's got to be done. Started Wani Kanye last week after learning Kana. Great website. Good day, mate. Lighter in chat for more than I knew. Yeah, good lad. What else are you saying? Ricky Burnett from Kobe. Hope all is good. All is well, my friend. All is well. Greetings from Shiga. Nihongo is Jozu Sugiru. Yeah, that's me, mate. Sugiru. And how much does JLP reflect your knowledge? Fuck all. JLPT, like any test in the world, test if you can remember what they tell you to remember. It means fuck all. It's same as like people that do Aiken or, TOEIC or something. Don't mean they can actually speak, but that's the life. Anyway, I've just realised my battery's about to die. So I'm going to end this live stream a little bit earlier than anticipated. And I apologise in advance, but as always, Until next time, Jamata. That's it for today's video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a comment below and bang a thumbs up on this video. While you're at it, you may as well smash that subscribe button and ring that bell and you won't miss a thing. And there's plenty more videos like this one. There's one here and one here. Maybe you'll see something you like. Only videos supported by the JaDanFam on